Hello YouTube, MrOllzinator here, and today I've got a breakdown for you showing you how to make this pretty cool looking metal text complete with neon lights and screws. But just before I get into that, quick update on my channel. Thank you for subscribing. I've been thinking lately and I've been a bit unsure as to whether I want to make my channel kind of solely based around speed arts or tutorials. And I'm slightly leaning towards speed arts at the moment, partly because they've been getting slightly more views than my tutorials, and also I think the majority of graphics people nowadays on YouTube know the basics of Photoshop already, and there's plenty of beginner tutorials and other tutorials on Photoshop as well. And speed arts are slightly more unique, slightly better to show kind of my style and my, I hate to sound arrogant, but talents, I suppose. And I'd much rather watch a speed art than a tutorial, so I'm hopefully going to be making some more of those. Don't worry though, I'll still do tutorials. If you see anything in any of my speed arts that you want to know how to do, I'll request it and I will think about making a tutorial on it. But enough of that, enough of me yakking on about my stuff. We are going to get straight into the breakdown, starting with some black text. The font I'm using is ambient, and then we're going to apply some layer styles to this very first layer. First we've got a drop shadow. You can either pause the video here or listen to me read off the numbers. The opacity, the rest, if I don't say anything, it's just because it's set to default. The opacity is 60%, distance is 0, and the size is 27. The rest is default, and we're going to add an inner glow, set the blending mode to overlay, opacity 15%, set the colour to white, and the size to 16. A bevel and emboss, set the depth to 500, this makes it rather crisp and cool, size is 3. Make sure to change the gloss contour to this one, I need to looking for it then, so it's just diagonally down and right from the default, and then change the highlight mode to color dodge, the shadow mode to darken, and both about 75%. Next we're going to add a satin. I think most of it's default, opacity 56%, distance 11, and size 16. Gradient overlay, just from black to white, opacity 34%, make sure it's going straight up. And then finally the pattern, if you haven't already, go check out my pattern giveaway. Here you'll find this cool looking metal pattern which I use in this. Set it to 100%, and that is it for the first layer. This is what we've got so far. I just wanted to make it a bit darker when I was creating this, so we're going to duplicate that bottom text layer, and then on this new duplicated layer, change the fill to 0%, and then hide all of the layer styles, and we're going to add 2 new ones. So we're going to go back into it, change the bevel and emboss from what it was to this, depth 500, size 3, and the rest is default. I think that's maybe the same settings, I'm not sure, but it's just going to make the bevel slightly darker. And we're going to add another satin, opacity 29%, distance 23, size 21. That's the basis of our metal text. You can leave it there if you want, kind of gives it a clean look so far. We're going to go for a slightly more grungy look. So once we have done those 2 text layers, we are going to add some scratches. As you can see, this doesn't have any scratches, and if I just unhide that layer, you see lots of scratchy bits all over it, which look pretty cool. So basically, I'm not going to go too in depth with this, but basically you just want to grab some grungy type brushes. A few examples in my brush set are things like this kind of scratchy, grungy type brushes, doesn't really matter, anything you want, and then just set them to overlay, opacity of between 20 and 30, and you just want to build them up. Hopefully you can see these building up, so add another one there. Make the image slightly darker by adding even more scratches. Another thing we can do is add these kind of cool looking, it's kind of hard to see, like actual real scratches rather than just make it darker. Kind of add proper scratches. Hard to explain, but you see here there's kind of really scratchy bits. I said scratch about 10 times. And what you do with that is just grab kind of a lightning brush, works well, and then apply the following layer styles. Set bevel and emboss to depth 1000%, size 1, and the rest is default I think, and then just a colour overlay just to make it kind of a dark grey colour. Gives it this nice texture, and then set that to overlay 40%. Once you've added the scratches, as I said before, those are optional, you can leave them out if you don't want them. We are going to add the neons. First up, I'm losing my breath because I'm talking too quickly. First up, you want to just either use the pen tools, many ways to do this, either with the pen tool or with the brush tool, or however you want. You just want to create these round brush lines using a small round brush, colour white, just in the areas wherever you want them. I chose kind of just random places which I thought would look cool. Then you're going to want to apply these layer styles. First up, we've got a drop shadow, opacity 33%, distance 5, size 5, I think those two are default. Add an outer glow, set the colour. In my case I'm going for 00C6FF, and then the spread to 4 and the size to 13. The opacity is set to 86%, and an inner glow set to the same colour I think, opacity 68%, choke 0 and size 3. Colour overlay to make it a light blue colour. If I just flick that on off, this is optional. Before it's white, now it's slightly darker blue, and a stroke set to 1 pixel, size, colour white. As you can see, the neons are starting to build up. We're not finished there though with the neons. We're going to duplicate that layer as we did before, and on this new duplicated layer, as we did before again, set the fill to 0%. Hide all of the layer styles and then apply these new ones. I'm going to apply an outer glow. This gives it, the first one gave a very kind of close, bright outer glow. This one's going to give it a slightly wider spread. So we're setting the opacity 70%, the same blue colour, spread 9 and size 38. Bevel and emboss just to give the neons a slightly kind of 3D look. Depth 100, that's default. Size 1. The bevel, I think that's the bevel, or is that the emboss? I'm not sure. But this highlight anyway is set to 0, and the shadow is set to 21%. Finally a stroke, just to kind of add a slightly bigger shadow, set to a light grey colour, size 1, opacity about 40%. Now those are neons, they're looking pretty nice. And finally the screws, these are optional. All of these things basically in the tutorial are optional. You can stop wherever you want. These screws are really simple. Basically, if I just zoom on one of these here without the layer styles, it's just a grey circle with a black cross through the middle. Really easy to make. Just grab your circle tool, just draw a circle, and then just grab your line tool and draw 2 lines. Simple as that. And then once you've done that, you want to apply these layer styles to make it look slightly more like a real screw, kind of shiny and 3D. Add a drop shadow, opacity 56%, distance 1, size 1. An inner shadow, opacity 35%, distance 5, size 5. And a bevel and emboss, depth 1000%, excuse me, size 4. And if I can go down a tad, yeah, there we go. Opacity of the highlight 56%, and the opacity of the shadow is 54%. And that's the screws. Final touches as always, black to white gradient map set to soft light 50%, and then just apply the image and sharpen it. So as I said before, it's pretty easy, it's mainly just layer styles. Hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, hopefully you can use it to good use, put it to good use. And what's wrong with my voice, jeez. And I will see you next time, hopefully when my voice is better. See you later.